Trade as such has to be connected with the economic activity, that's investment, job creation, resource generation.
I think both India and Pakistan are agreed on this, is to move beyond nomenclature and to get to the core of the issue of trade between India and Pakistan.
Nepal is striving very hard to get this economic prosperity through trade and investment.
SAARC is walking, and probably it now needs to run.
It was the Davos of South Asia, men and women who walk the power corridors and who make it their business to channelize their country's trade and investments, convened at the 5th edition of the South Asian Business Leadership Conclave in the national capital recently. Perhaps the timing of the conclave could not have come at a better time.
Hearty welcome to the South Asian Economic Summit and South Asian Business Leader Conclave. Please allow me to extend my deepest appreciation to the all honorable ministers from SAARC and His Excellency Secretary General of SAARC for gracing this event with their valued and inspirational presence.
In a time of global turmoil, it's a lot of communication and confidence that can be built between the countries. And confidence is only enhanced if countries sit regularly together, exchange information, exchange views, and have constant communication. And I think that is the single biggest, confidence building measure is the single biggest step.
Outlining the challenges that the South Asian region faces, the SAARC Business Conclave took off to a tremendous start.
Trade and economic ministers of all the 8 SAARC countries are gathering at a common platform, and our agenda is the South Asian Century for regional integration, but because India is committed to have peace and prosperity in South Asia.
Welcoming the ministers and business leaders from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, India's Commerce Minister Anand Sharma set the ball rolling for the first round of concentrated talks.
It's important that the countries of this region recognize the opportunities that exist for economic growth and development in our region, a region which is not only rich in human resources, but also richly endowed with natural resources to a large extent, but a region which has not been able to benefit as the other regions of the world have done. We need to create linkages between our financial institutions and banks. We are open to the opening of bank branches from all countries, as we have been encouraging our central banks to do so. And Indian banks do have presence in some of the SAARC countries. And we assure you that we will be encouraging and supporting of Indian banks setting up their branches in every member SAARC country so that trade and business can benefit. You cannot have governments isolated or insulated from the businesses. Economies grow when there is a partnership between the businesses and the government.
Mr. Sharma, you did expound upon the fact that we as a region need to unite far more than we have in the past. Nobody will deny our challenges are very similar for most SAARC nations, be it weak global demand, supply side constraints, policy uncertainties, the macroeconomic imbalances. What would your prescription be to enhance the intra-regional trade, sir?
We can enhance trade only by ensuring that the economic output is more and value-added manufacturing takes place in our countries. I think we can multiply the trade manifold. Today, trade is taking place. What the official figures reflect is not the correct picture, because much of the goods get imported exported or re-exported through third countries, and where the costs also escalate with every transaction, we can eliminate those cost escalations and also enhance trade.
If I may take questions to other ministers now, and we still await the MFN status from Pakistan. When should we expect that to come in?
What we are aiming towards, I think both India and Pakistan are agreed on this, is to move beyond nomenclature and to get to the core of the issue of trade between India and Pakistan, which is to have non-discriminatory access to each other's goods that are currently under different kinds of restrictions, and to have a level playing field for each country. And once we reach that stage of having not discriminating against our neighbors, I believe much more trade can take place.
Mr. Shinwari, you've come in. Welcome to this conclave. The question really is that your country is facing a very testing, very challenging time as you try and rebuild into an independent, strong nation. What is it that you would expect from your more well-meaning neighbors here in the SAARC region?
We consider ourselves a bridge for the SAARC region to go to the Central Asia and as well as to the rest of the world through Afghanistan. And that is giving us upper hand in the overall activities that we are having. I think Afghanistan is the only place for the better investment inside the region because of having the raw material, and at the same time we are enjoying a lot of the preferential treatment from the other country. Like we are having the agreement with the European Union, ABA, everything but arm. We are duty-free, we have duty-free entrance to the European market. So if the investment take place in Afghanistan and then we can produce things and export it to the other part of the world, I think there is a lot of opportunities for that if we can move ahead with that.
Sure enough. Mr. Birla, let's bring this discussion to people who really do business, who really get down to the nitty-gritties of signing contracts. If I were to ask you purely from a businessman point of view, and what is it that businessmen need to do on a one-on-one basis to take trade forward in this part of the world?
I think people in SAARC have a culture, value system and a way of working. And I think businessmen can very easily connect with each other. I think the first thing in economic engagement is to build the trust, that is how to get more and more business people around the table. Let's leave the governments out. Governments can catalyze it. We need to get more businessmen on the table and more frequently. And number two, rather than trade, the thing which will bind SAARC together is inter-investment within the region.
That's a fair point indeed. You need to bring deeper linkages. Mr. Sani, my final question to you. You've been associated with the SAARC region. You've seen the SAARC relationship evolve over some time. How do you see the trajectory forward?
Our whole idea of the SAARC, to create a SAARC fraternity, is people-to-people contact. Unless people will meet each other, and when people move, they say goods move. So it is very important for us to have a better connectivity in SAARC. We have shared histories and culture. So therefore it is very important for us to have a better connectivity, a better free visa regime, and of course, along with the trade and investment treaty kind of thing, where we are already talking about joint ventures on the hydro side between India, Nepal and Bhutan. Basic thing is a bondage, to create a social, cultural and economic bondage among the SAARC fraternity to build up a peace and prosperous South Asia.
This session was followed by a thought-provoking debate on tackling non-tariff barriers and how the South Asian region will emerge in the 21st century.
The South Asian region is a fascinating mix of shared and varied histories, languages, ethnicities, cuisines and cultures. Different and yet somehow familiar. We understand and have an affinity for each other's literature, poetry, music and films. These are strengths to build on as we face the challenges of the future. Our people relate to each other. The challenge for us is to work towards such a future and to seize the opportunities where they present themselves.
If I may take this discussion forward, we do not have trade barriers in this region, we do not have tariff barriers in this region, but what we call non-tariff barriers continue to exist. So things like high transportation costs, poor institutions, inadequate cross-border infrastructure. If I may put this question to Mr. Karim here from Bangladesh, sir, what are your thoughts on tackling some of these non-tariff barriers that are never really intended to be barriers, but they somehow posed to be? How best should we be able to tackle them?
Non-tariff barriers still exist. That is where both businessmen and government have to come together to identify, and that will only happen once the open market is presented, businessmen start exploring what is it that I can now send in addition to what I was sending before.
I want to turn this discussion to Mr. Namgyal of the Bhutanese embassy here, sir. There is this growing energy demand in this region, and I think the demand far outstrips the supply, and which is why there's a serious challenge. We've spoken about what all can be done to address some of these challenges, but do you believe that South Asia really has a strategy to tackle these challenges that is being thrown at us, considering our demand for energy is just so huge?
All our other countries also, some are large, some are small, but collectively, we all want to grow. And since we all want to grow, energy consumption is only going to increase, and the demands are going to be huge. What we have to meet these demands are hydropower and coal, nuclear, thermal, all these. But as far as Bhutan is concerned, we have good hydropower resources. But we know that even the full capacity which we have, 30,000 megawatts, all of which we know will not be able to be produced, but we will try to produce as much as possible. And we are doing that hydropower resource mobilization with the help of India. We have to have a bilateral approach, a sub-regional approach, and a regional approach to meet the hydropower needs or the power needs of the entire region. And I think the best way is all our countries should focus, all our governments should focus on it.
Right, from promoting needs to really tapping opportunities, let's take this discussion to Maldives. Mr. Mohammed Nasir, if I may get you in on this. The World Tourism Organization has forecast that by 2030, the number of tourists around the world will be 1.8 billion, and 57% of those will actually arrive in emerging economy destinations like ourselves. We are geographically very attractive, but do you think this is time for the region to be sold and to be marketed as a whole as well?
All the countries of SAARC, we are promoting tourism individually. But if we could, promote tourism collectively, I think, we could promote this region much more than that we are receiving at the moment.
What are the challenges that you perceive for this region to become the big tourist destinations that we believe we should be?
I think that collectively, if we could build the kind of infrastructure where we could actually have breakfast in Delhi, lunch in Lahore, and dinner in Kabul, then you might have a whole tourist segment that comes here to do precisely that. So that is the challenge. I don't see any challenges in the cultural aspects. I think that is one of our great strengths.
If I may take a question to Mr. Sahni, and because you represent the business community here, the whole connectivity issue that has been spoken about so far by all our eminent panelists, a regional multimodal transport and transit agreement is very crucial to the integration of this region. From a corporate point of view and also from a government point of view, we'd like to hear your thoughts, we'd like to hear your side of the story.
Connectivity is at a very low ebb in SAARC countries. Let's start from the flights. So I think we have to look at a better flight connectivity to visit the neighboring countries. But two of the crucial factors which come is one is the visa regime. Of course, now on bilateral side, we have agreements on the multiple entry visa for businessmen. If connectivity improves, tourism will improve. And as our Sri Lankan High Commissioner said, let's promote tourism not individually but as South Asia to the whole globe. This alone can improve the standard of living and bring big income output employment generation for South Asia.
On the other side, while ministers make the policies and the bureaucrats get them off the ground, it is really the people on ground zero who spin the wheels of the economy. We share the experience of entrepreneurs from across South Asia.